Meantime, back in this country, as the economy continues to suffer and people simply can't find jobs, many are moving back home to their parents' house. Well, do you know how many Americans are in that very situation? Find out. All right, I asked the question before the break. How many young Americans are moving back home to live with mom and dad? Well, according to the recent poverty study by the U.S. Census, it's a huge number, nearly 6 million. They're in the age range of 25 to 34 and are often referred to as boomerang kids. All right, so it's the #1 issue in American homes, getting your financial house in order. And today in our weekly financial fix, the financial ground rules when adult children do move home, when you've got those boomerang kids. Karen Lee, author of It's Just Money, So Why Does It Cause So Many Problems? Joining us right now. Okay, so you get a call from your kid, you're thinking, okay, everything's great, I'm coming back home.
Right.
There's a sinking feeling, sadly, that a lot of parents have because they're looking at the dollar signs. It's going to cost me.
Right, and they're losing their independence of their empty nesting. But absolutely, the first thing I want to talk about is they've got to start with looking at their own finances.
Yeah.
Can they really afford this? Now, I get...
So you're already saying there should be an option. Parents need to say, yes, you may come home, or no.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that whether they're 30, 40, or 50, they're still your babies, so there probably isn't a big option.
Yeah.
But the ground rules would be dramatically different if you ask yourself, can I afford this? And, of course, you know, I'm always talking openly and honestly about money, so the next thing I want you to do is tell your children how it's going to affect you financially. You're going to delay your own retirement? Are you not going to be able to go on vacations, etc.? And if
so you're laying on the guilt.
I just want everyone to know what the situation is. Now, if they're working, but they just aren't earning enough to live independently, I like to insist on some kind of financial payment, a little rent, a little help towards food and utilities. It's
incentive, isn't it? Because at least it says you're not taking this for granted. I realize money is tight, but even if you go out and get a job where the paycheck is small, a good portion of that paycheck needs to come toward rent. Help out.
That's right. So once you've talked to your children about your own financial situation, I'm giving you permission. It's time to ask about theirs. What kind of debt are they in? It's very important that you help your kids stay on top of those debt payments, not be late.
So it's not just open the door, okay, come on in, I'll help you feel better, but we got to have dialogue because this should not be a permanent situation.
And I would think the former would be a huge mistake if you just let them in with no ground rules.
You got to let your kids know that there are conditions right away.
Absolutely. So the other thing I'd like to tell you is if your children have an abundance of debt, I encourage you to encourage them to seek debt consolidation help.
Oh. I thought that usually costs more money.
No, it actually does not. They talk with your credit card companies, lower your interest rates, but they package everything together, make it easier, and you get involved.
Oh, my goodness.
The other thing you can really do to help your children is insist that they work. Now, there's a lot of people...
You're not on vacation because you come home, you got to find something.
And we have a lot of people right now not wanting to be underemployed due to education. I would say get a job, get any job. And if they absolutely can't, are there some chores at home that you've been paying other people to do? Lawn service, cleaning service.
Some sweat hours.
And maybe you can reduce your budget a little in respect for helping them out.
And then you come up with this plan and you say it is up to parents to then say, okay, got to do a little checks and balances here. Let's make sure this plan is working, or let's modify if
Let's
things
start
are not.
with the ground rules of you must set a plan with your kids. So the first thing is, are you actually going to loan them money? If you are, I'd like to see a promissory note written up. I'd like to see some interest payments. The greatest help you can give them is with some job search assistance. You know, there are actually outplacement firms that help people put the resume together, conduct a better job search. Your own personal professional network. Have you, help your children find a job that way. But most importantly, the last thing on that list, the time frame. Give them a time frame. Now, you might not be able to stick to it, but at least say 3 months, 6 months. And we'll talk about what happens on our last tip if you get past that point. So that last point is monitor that plan.
So hopefully you have all this in writing and you've got to go through this plan, remind them what the arrangement is, and hopefully it's going to be a happy household.
I'd like to have you have weekly meetings because what you're saying, and I agree, is there is a lot of resentment that can come up over this situation. So are they actively looking for work? Are they contributing with the chores at home? And then as you come up to that time frame, do we readjust it, or do we now have to practice tough love?
You have to crack the whip. Karen Lee always here with some, tough love. good, valuable lessons, but, you know, we want to keep the family intact.
We do. So talk.
That's the whole idea.
Talk about it.
Have a plan. Write it all down.
Yeah.
Checks and balances. All right.
You got it.
Karen Lee, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, get more information by reading Karen's new book, It's Just Money. So why does it cause so many problems? Or reach Karen at KarenLeeAndAssociates.com.